Question says Mikey spent $20.25 on coffee that cost $4.50 a pound. How many pounds did Mikey buy? So the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out what operation we're doing. So we have to ask ourselves, were we given a total or are we looking for a total? Well, in this case, we were given a total. Our total is the $20.25. So if we're given a total, that means we either divide or subtract. So, which one will we do? We're going to divide because it costs $4.50 per pound. So we're trying to figure out how many pounds he has, so we're going to split that $20.25 into equal parts of $4.50. So that means that we're dividing since we're splitting it into equal parts. So we're going to do 20.25 divided by 4.50. I'm actually going to cross this right here off because it's just going to make our lives harder. And we're going to move this decimal over here. By the way, I could cross it off because it's a 0. And we'll move this decimal over here. So we have 45 going into 202.5. I'm going to list out my 45 facts. 45 times 1 is 45. Add another 45. And that gives us times 2, which is 90. Add another 45. And that gives us 135. Add another 45. That gives us times 4, which is going to be 180. Add another 45, and that gives us times 5, which is going to be 8 times 4 is 225. Okay, we're going to stop there, and we'll see if we have to keep going. All right, so the first thing I look at, looks like no, not yet. Okay, the first thing we look at is, does 45 go into 2? No. Does it go into 20? No. Does it go into 202? Yes. How many times? Well, right here, 225 is too big because that's bigger than 202. So we have to go back one to 180, so that's going to give us 4 times. And then 4 times 45 is 180. Subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. This 0 will turn into a 10, so that 2 will turn into a 1, and then 10 minus 8 is 2, and drop down your 5. And then how many times does 45 go into 225? Well, that works out perfectly with 5. So the answer is 4.5 pounds. All right, James had 120 baseball cards. He gave half to his brother. Now, half is a fraction. 1/2. 2/10 to his best friend and kept the rest for himself. How many cards did James keep? Now, he gave half of the cards to his brother. That means we take the 120 and we split it in half. Well, when we're splitting something in half, we're dividing it by 2. Another way that we can do it, though, is we can multiply it times 1/2. And you're going to see why in just a second. So I'm going to do 120 times 1/2 over 1. Tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms. 120 times 1 is 120. 1 times 2 is 2. So if you look, we're doing 120 divided by 2 anyways. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then I just tack on this 0 that's at the end. And that gives me 60. So he gave 60 cards to his brother. Then we have to figure out how many he gave to his best friend. So if we just multiplied 120 times 1/2 for his brother, we're going to multiply 120, because that's the total number of his cards, by the fraction 2/10, because that's how many he gave to his friend. Tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms. 12 times 2 is 24. And then we just tack on this 0 that's here at the end. That gives us 240 over 10. Cross off these zeros. 24 divided by 1 gives us 24. And then it says, how many cards did he give away? So we have to add up together 60 plus 24 to figure out how many gave he away. He gave away 60 to his brother, 24 to his best friend, so he gave away a total of 84. Then how do we figure out how many cards he kept? We would subtract the 120 that he starts with minus the 84 that he gave away. This 0 turns into a 10. This 2 turns into a 1. 10 minus 4 is 6. We can't do 1 minus 8, so that 1 is going to turn into an 11, and that 1 is going to go away. 11 minus 8 is 3, so he kept 36 cards to himself. Next one says, Kendra has 3 pieces of fabric that are 2.4 yards each. She needs a total of 20 yards of fabric to make a quilt. How much more fabric does she need? So she has 3 pieces of fabric that are 2.4 yards each. So we need to figure out how much fabric she already has. So we're going to do 2.4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12, so I write down a 2, carry my 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then I have a decimal. So this is how much she has. Now we need to figure out how much more she needs. I know that she has a total of 20, that she needs a total of 20 yards. And she has 7.2. So how do we figure out how much she needs? We subtract. We do 20 minus 7.2. Well, if I look, this right here has a decimal. My 20 does not. So we attach a decimal onto the end of 20. Remember, when we add or subtract, we have to line up our decimals. So there's 7.2. Then we tack on a 0. This 0 turns into a 10. This 0 turns into a 9. This 2 turns into a 1. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 7 is 2. 1 minus nothing is 1. Drop that decimal straight down. She needs 12.8 yards. Ben is training for a 5K race. He ran 2 3/4 miles both Monday and Wednesday. He ran 4 1/4 mile on Friday. How many total miles did Ben run this week? So how do we figure out the total of how many miles he ran this week? We add it all together. So we have 2 3/4 plus 2 3/4 plus 1 1/4. When we add or subtract fractions, what do we have to have? A common denominator. These all have a denominator of 4, so I can actually go ahead and add them. I have 2 plus 1. That gives us 5. Then I have 3 plus 1. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, over 4. Remember, we can't have an improper fraction, so how do I turn that into a mixed number? We divide, so we do 7 divided by 4. 4 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtracting that gives us 3. If I were going to turn this into a decimal, I would add a decimal and a 0, but I want to keep it a fraction. So this 1 right here is a whole number or numerator. A whole number, which makes this 3 right here a numerator. So we keep the original 5. Then we add what we just found, which was 1 3/4. 5 plus 1 is 6 3/4. That's going to be miles. All right, Luke bought 2 pairs of pants for $20.50 each and 3 shirts for $14.75 each. If he paid with a $100 bill, how much change did he get? So our first step is to figure out how much he spent on pants. So for his pants, forgive my awful artwork, he spent $20.50. So you can either add $20.50 plus $20.50, or you can do it times 2. I'm going to do it times 2 because I multiply a little bit faster. 0 times 2 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10, so I write down a 0, carry my 1. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. We have 2 decimal places here, so we have 2 decimal places here. He spent $41 on pants. Then for his shirts, they get worse as they go. He spent $14.75 each. That was disgusting. Okay, $14.75, $14.75, and $14.75. We need to figure out how much he spent total, so we just do $14.75 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15, so I write down a 5, carry my 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22, so I write down a 2, carry my 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14, write down a 4, carry my 1. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. I have 2 decimal places here, so I have 2 decimal places here. So I know he spent $41 on pants and $44.25 on shirts. So how do I find the total of how much he spent? We put the 2 of them together. So we do 41 plus 44.25. That was the growth way to write that. 0 plus 5 is 5. 0 plus 2 is 2. Drop down your decimal. 1 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's $85.25. And it wants us to find the change. Well, he paid with a $100 bill. So we would say 100 and I added on a decimal and 2 zeros because we need it for the 100, minus 85.25. This 0 right here turns into a 10. This 0 turns into a 9. This 0 turns into a 9. This 0 turns into a 9. That 1 goes away. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. Drop your decimal straight down. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 minus 8 is 1. So that is $14.25 and change. All right, this one says classify negative 32 over 4 by naming the set or sets to which it belongs. So negative 32 divided by 4. Well, what is 32 divided by 4? 8. Don't forget your negative. This is actually negative 8. How would you classify negative 8? As an integer. Because it is an integer, it must also be a, so when we do our circles, you have a whole number, a rational number? Goodness gracious, Miss Aguilard. An integer, a whole number, and a natural number. Since it is an integer, it also fits into the rational number category, but we can't actually go inwards, so it only fits into the rational number category. So it's an integer and a rational number. It's not a whole number because it's negative. It's not a natural number because it's negative.